Hello, my dear students. Myself, Vinita Bhatt. So, today we are going to learn the chapter that is life processes. Okay. So, before going to start the chapter, I will give you some introduction points about this chapter. Dear students, please take one notebook and one pen with you and note down the important points. And while explaining, I will explain that this question is asked in the previous year question paper like that. So you can note down that points. Okay. So shall we start the class? Okay. Okay. So my first question is, how do we tell the difference between what is alive and what is not alive? Okay. Are you able to see the screen? Okay. How do we tell the difference between the what is alive and what is not alive? So, you know the characteristics of the living organisms, right? So, living organisms, they have the characteristics like they will show the growth and they respire, they will perform the respiration, then living organisms reproduce. So these all characters so that are not observed in the non-living things, right? But we can also observe some characteristics like growth, movement, and the respiration. So growth you can observe in both animals and plants, both are the living organisms. And in growth, what you have to do, you have to take some time like certain period of time, for example 1 week or 1 month, like that. If you take the certain period of time, then you can observe the growth in the living organisms. And you can observe the movement in both in animals and plants, in all living organisms. What type of the movements you can observe in the plants? What type of the movements you can observe in the plants? You can observe the plants, they grow, the movements of the plants towards the light, and some parts of the plants, they grow opposite to the light, like that. You can observe the movement in the plants also. And respiration, you can observe the respiration in animals externally, right? But plants also respire. Yes, so plants also respire through the stomata. They have the special small pores, so through that they will respire, they will perform the respiration. Okay, so these are the characteristics of the living beings. So these many characters are enough to determine the uh, any organism, anything is living or non-living. So only growth, movement, respiration, reproduction, only these characteristics are enough to decide whether the organism is living or non-living. Is there any other criteria for to decide the something is alive? Yes. Students, please put your answer in the chat box that I can see. Okay. So, for example, I hope you have seen the crocodile. So in crocodile, if you observe that, so we can't see any movements. We can't observe any respiratory movements in the crocodile. Okay. But we can say that that is alive. That is not showing any movement, any growth when we see that. But we can say that that crocodile is alive. How we can say that? Not only crocodile, I'm taking the example of that. Okay. So how we can say that that is alive? So not only external characteristics like movements or growth or respiration, not only these characteristics, we have to observe some other movements. So what are the other movements? Other movements like very small scale movements, invisible movements. So that will take place inside our body, inside the organism's body. Some small scale movements also. Yes, very good. Somebody is saying movement. Yes. Yes, that movement you can observe in the organisms inside the body. So that small scale movements also responsible for the that to decide whether it is living or non-living. Okay. So I hope this point is clear. Then let us come to the topic life processes. What do you mean by life processes? Life processes means the basic processes in living organisms which are necessary for the maintaining the life. So that is essential for the maintaining the life. So what are these life processes? So these are nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. So these are the main life processes. So this may be asked for the 1 marks question. What are life processes? Which are the four important life processes? Okay, note down these. Life processes are the basic processes in living organisms which are necessary for the maintaining the life. And which are these life processes? Very important life processes, that is nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. Okay. Okay, so let us see what is nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion in this chapter. Okay, so life processes is the chapter. So in this chapter, we are going to study about nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion in detail. Okay, so first is about nutrition. So let us define nutrition. So it is the process of transfer of source of energy from outside the body of organism to the inside the body. Okay. So for example, we are performing many activities in our day to day life. Okay. So ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಡೇ ಟು ಡೇ ಲೈಫಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಆಟ ಆಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಓಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ something, right? What is that? To do these all works, what is that? Anybody? ಏನ್ ಬೇಕು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ದಿನನಿತ್ಯದ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಬೇಕು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಾ? Okay, energy. Yes, so energy we need for these all processes. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ? We get energy from yes, very good. All the students are saying energy. Yes. We get energy from the food, right? Yes. So nutrition is nothing but transfer of the source of energy. That is nothing but the food. Transfer of the source of energy, food, from the outside the body of organism to the inside the body. So that process is known as a nutrition. So we are going to study about the nutrition in detail. So in the next part. Okay. So nutrition ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು in detail ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಕಲಿಲಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದೇವೆ. Okay. Then what do you mean by respiration? Just we are defining the what is nutrition, respiration thing. Okay. What is respiration then? So simply how you define the respiration? Taking in the oxygen and giving out the carbon dioxide. Then what happens in that process? In that process, so when we take in the oxygen, that oxygen is helps for the breakdown of the food molecules and release the energy. So that is what the respiration. So respiration ಬಗ್ಗೆನು ನಾವು in detail ಆಗಿ ಕಲಿಲಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಓಕೆನಾ? Okay. Then transportation. So transportation is the common word for you people, ಅಲ್ವಾ? So transportation ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ, so for some substances from one place to another place. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟೇಷನ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ nothing but, so in our body also transportation of the water, food molecules and waste products will takes place alva. So some food materials also transfer from one part to another part, and nutrients also transfer. So very much these all products are transfer in the organism's body, that is nothing but the transportation. Okay, then excretion. What do you mean by excretion? What do you mean by excretion? Anybody? Yes. So that is nothing but a removal of the waste products present in our body ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನೌನ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೀಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ so let us start with the nutrition. What is nutrition? Types of nutrition, all we are studying in this topic. Okay. So nutrition meaning you know that. So that is the transfer of the source of energy. That is the food from the outside the body of the organism to the inside the body. Okay. So that is nothing but a nutrition. Right. Then there are two main different modes of nutrition. Do you know the two important modes of nutrition? What is that? What is that? Two more important modes of nutrition. Yes, anybody? Okay, there are two important modes of nutrition, that is autotrophic nutrition and the heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, so this is the two important modes of nutrition. First type is autotrophic nutrition and second type is the heterotrophic nutrition. Then in the heterotrophic nutrition, again we can find the three types, that is saprophytic, holozoic and the parasitic, that we are studying in the next part of this chapter. Okay. First, we are going to study about the autotrophic nutrition. What is autotrophic nutrition? Where it is found? Anybody? What is the meaning of autotrophs or autotrophic nutrition? Yes. Autotrophic nutrition means the organisms, they produce their own food by using the simple organic products like carbon dioxide, water and sunlight. Using these things, so they are able to produce their own food. That is called as a autotrophic type of the nutrition. Okay. So where we can find the autotrophic type of the nutrition? Anybody? Where we can find autotrophic modes of the nutrition? Yes. Yes. So we can find autotrophic modes of nutrition in mainly in plants, right? In plants and in some bacteria. So students concentrate on these points. So one multiple choice question is asked in the previous year. So in question ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ autotrophic types of the nutrition found in autotrophic type of nutrition found in first option is plant, in plants. Second option in fungi. Third option plants and some bacteria, in plants and some bacteria. Fourth option is in plants and all bacteria. Look at the fourth point, plants and all bacteria. So here autotrophic modes of nutrition is found in plants. Yes, that is the correct one. But in some bacteria, okay, not all the bacteria are autotrophs. Some bacteria are autotrophs. Okay, so very important example, that is plants and some bacteria. This may be asked in a multiple choice question. Okay, then you know that plants prepare their own food. with the help of the carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll, and by using the sunlight. You know that what is that process is called? What is that process is called? What is that process is called? That process is called as a photosynthesis, right? So in the photosynthesis process, what happens? So actually you can observe this video. In this video, you can observe that what is photosynthesis, how it takes place in plants. Just observe this. Here, the plants, they are using the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere and the sunlight and water minerals from the soil, water minerals from the soil and chlorophyll which is present in the leaves of these plants. So using these all factors, plants prepare their own food. So that food, that is in the form of the carbohydrate. Okay, so plant prepare their food. That food is nothing but the carbohydrate, that is in the form of carbohydrate. In plants, if this carbohydrate is not utilized for their function, so it is stored. In which form it is stored? It is stored in the form of starch. Okay, so in the human body, this is in case of the plants, right? In case of the human body, the food material, so that is absorbed by our body and that is stored. So that is stored in our body. In which form? That is called as a glycogen. Okay, glycogen. Glycogen is stored in the human body, but the starch, the carbohydrate is stored in the form of starch in case of the plants. Okay, yes. So this is about the photosynthesis. Then, do you know the chemical equation of this photosynthesis? Anybody? Just write down the chemical equation of this photosynthesis. Yes. So this is the chemical equation of the photosynthesis. So chemical equation of this photosynthesis, so that is very simple. You know the process of photosynthesis. For the process of photosynthesis, you require carbon dioxide, right? Carbon dioxide. Then water is also required. Then they require chlorophyll pigment that is present in the leaves of the plants. Then sunlight. Using this, what they produce? They produce the glucose, that is C6H12O6, that is nothing but a glucose. And very important, one more product is, that is oxygen. Oxygen is released and water is also released in a small quantity. Okay, so this is a chemical equation of the photosynthesis, but you have to balance this equation. Already you have studied in chemistry how to balance the chemical reaction. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ chemical reaction ಅನ್ನ balance ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರಬೇಕು? ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಇಲ್ಲಿ 6CO2, 12H2O, then here 6 oxygen and 6H2O ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? So that equation will be completed. So this is very important, very important equation. This is very important equation. Please practice this equation. Okay, yes, please practice this equation. Very important. It may be asked for the 1 mark question or 2 mark question. Okay, write the balanced chemical equation of the photosynthesis. Yes. Then in the photosynthesis process, there are three important steps are takes place. So what are the three important steps of this photosynthesis? First step is, so this is also asked in the exam, very important. First step is absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll that absorb the light energy from the sun. And second step is conversion of the light energy to the chemical energy and splitting of the water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. So water molecules are splitting into hydrogen and oxygen. So that is the second step. And third step is reduction of carbon dioxide into carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is nothing but glucose. Okay, C6H12O6, that is nothing but a glucose. These three steps are very important. This question is also asked in the previous year question paper. What are the three important events occurs during the photosynthesis process? Okay, so these three important steps you have to write. Okay, so is it clear? Any doubts? Any doubts? Okay, so you know that in the photosynthesis process, chlorophyll is also very important material, right? So this pigment is present in leaves. You know that this chlorophyll pigment is present in the leaves. So if you take the section of the leaf, when you just take the section of the leaf and just observe it under the microscope, ಇದನ್ನ ಲೀಫ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ಓಕೆ, ಹಿಯರ್ this is also a structure that you can observe in the microscope. And what you observe in microscope, that is when you take the section of the leaves, so you can observe the two cell layer here. This is the first layer and this is another layer. This is called as upper epidermis ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ cells ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಈ ತರ cells ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಇದನ್ನ upper epidermis ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. And this is called as a lower epidermis. ಇದನ್ನ lower epidermis ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. In between these two epidermis you can observe this type of long cylindrical shape cells. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಈ ತರ cells ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, elongated cells. So these cells are called as palisade cells. So just observe this cell. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, this is nothing but the cells which contain the chloroplast, which contain the chlorophyll. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, so this is nothing but a chloroplast. ಆ chloroplast ಒಳಗಡೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, chlorophyll pigment ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. So like this, chlorophyll pigment is present in the cells of these leaves. And here you can also observe the some other cells and chlorophyll present in these cells. So these are called as spongy mesophyll cells. And you can observe the green dots like here. Green dots ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲೋರೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಕ್ಲೋರೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ಲೋರೋಫಿಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ that is about the chlorophyll. And just observe here in the lower epidermis you can observe the some opening here, that is nothing but a stomata. Okay, so my question is, you know that for the photosynthesis process the plants need carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is present in the atmosphere, but how it enters inside the plant's body? How the carbon dioxide get inside the plant's body? Any answer? Yes? Anybody? Please tell me how the carbon dioxide that enters inside the plant's body. Yes, through the stomata. Okay, so through the stomata, so which are present in the mainly present in the lower epidermis of these leaves, so they have the small openings, they are called as stomata. Through this stomata the carbon dioxide and the exchange of the gases takes place. Okay, let us study about this stomata. Okay, yes. So stomata. So this is the structure of the open and closed stomata. This diagram is very important. Okay, so my dear students, listen carefully, note down this point. This open and closed stomata diagram is very important. It may be asked for the 3 marks question as a 3 marks question or 2 marks question. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Sometimes they will ask the draw the neat label diagram of the open stomata. Sometimes they will ask both open and closed stomata. Okay, so in the stomata, just observe this structure. So this bean shaped structures, so these are called as guard cells. Okay, so these are nothing but the guard cells, and this opening is called as a stomatal pore. Idanna guard cells anta karitare. So this is nothing but a stomatal pore. Okay, and these guard cells, just observe here, this stomatal pore is closed, it is not opened. And see the shape of these guard cells shape ಅನ್ನ observe ಮಾಡಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ವಾ. So here through these pores the exchange of the gases takes place. Exchange of the gases means carbon dioxide that is get inside the plant's body for the photosynthesis process, and oxygen that is released through this stomatal pore. Okay, so these guard cells, they are helping for the opening and closing of the stomata. Okay, so open ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಸ್ಟೊಮ್ಯಾಟಲ್ ಪೋರ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅದು ಓಪನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ಬಹುದು. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ in this part, in this stomata topic, so one important thing is diagram. Okay, so this diagram is important, note down this point. And second thing is, what are the functions of stomata? Functions of stomata is very important. Okay, then so here these stomata, they are meant for the exchange of the gases, carbon dioxide and the oxygen, carbon dioxide and oxygen. But they also helps for the loss of water. That is a what it is called, loss of water through the stomata. That is called as a transpiration, right? So for this process also, these stomatas are helping. So look at this video. So how these stomatas are opening and closing, and how the exchange of the gases takes place, and water is also lost through this stomata. Okay, then so we have completed what is autotrophic nutrition. Second topic is heterotrophic nutrition. What you mean by heterotrophic nutrition? Heterotrophic nutrition means the organisms, they depend on the plants or plant products directly or indirectly. So directly means, for example, deer, cow, these organisms, they depend on the plants directly. They eat the plants directly and they get their nutrition. Alva, direct agi plants mele depend agide. And some organisms, they depend indirectly on plants for their nutrition. So for example, lion and tiger, so these all organisms direct agi plants mele depend agilla alva. So direct agi plants mele depend agilla, but how they are depending indirectly, they depend on the organisms which eat the plants for their nutrition alva. So they are called as herbivores. The organisms which depend on the plants directly, they are called as herbivores, and the organisms which depend indirectly, they are called as carnivores or omnivores, like that alva. So ಆ ತರ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, so these all organisms called as a they obtain the nutrition through the heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, in the heterotrophic nutrition again, there is a type that is called as a saprophytic nutrition. So here, how the organisms obtain their food, they break down the food material outside their body. So in the, just imagine, in human beings, we take the food inside and breakdown of the food material and the nutrients will be takes place inside our body ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಬಾಡಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫುಡ್ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಡೌನ್ ಆಗಿ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಗೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಸಮ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಡೌನ್ ದ ಫುಡ್ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ outside their body and they absorb the nutrients. For example, yeast ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬ್ರೆಡ್ ಮೋಲ್ಡ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ದೇ break down the food material outside their body and absorb it. Okay, so there is no breakdown of the food materials inside their body. So this type of nutrition is called as a saprophytic nutrition. Second type is parasitic nutrition. What do you mean by parasites? Parasites means the organisms they depend on the other organisms for their food, and they live on that organisms without killing them. They obtain the nutrition from the other organisms without killing them. Okay, they will not kill that organism, but they obtain the nutrients. Okay, so this type of nutrition that can be observed in cuscuta. So cuscuta is a plant, so that I will explain. Cuscuta and tapeworm and leech, ticks. So these all are example for the parasitic nutrition. So ಇದೇನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಫುಡ್ ಆಬ್ಟೇನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಆಬ್ಟೇನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, so these are not killing the host organism. Okay, host ಅನ್ನ kill ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, just nutrients ಅನ್ನ absorb ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. And very important, so this may be asked in the MCQ question. Note down, this is the cuscuta plant, but it is not a autotrophic plant. It is a parasitic plant. This cuscuta is a parasitic plant. Why it is called as a parasitic plant? Because it depends on the other plant to obtain its nutrition. It is not performing the photosynthesis. This cuscuta that is not performing the photosynthesis process. Okay, so it is called as a parasitic plant. Very important, note down this. Okay, then one more type of the nutrition, that is a holozoic type of the nutrition that we can observe in the amoeba and in the human beings also. So in amoeba, you know that amoeba, so that is having the irregular shape. There is no definite body shape for the amoeba. Okay, so how it obtains the food? It is a single cell organism. You know that amoeba is a single cell organism, but how it obtain its food? So amoeba need its pseudopodia to obtain to get its food. Pseudopodia means this is the extension. These extensions are called as a pseudopodia ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಫೀಟ್ ಅಂತಾನು ಕರೀತಾರೆ, ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, just imagine there is a food particle outside the amoeba's body. Okay, just imagine this is the microscopic view of the amoeba. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫುಡ್ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಫುಡ್ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೊ it will form the extension of this pseudopodia around this food material. ಇಲ್ಲಿ food material ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಮೀಬಾ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, so it is forming the pseudopodia around its around the food material like this. food material around ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ತರ pseudopodia ನ extension ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. then just it will grab the food material by forming the pseudopodia. ಇದ್ರ ಈ ಫುಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಸುಡೋಪೋಡಿಯಾನ ಈ ತರ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಫುಡ್ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ದ ಅಮೀಬಾಸ್ ಬಾಡಿ. ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ amoeba obtains the food. In this diagram also you can observe, in the first step the food material is outside here, and then in the last step that is inside the amoeba's body, right? So after getting inside the amoeba's body, the food material that will be get digested in the food vacuole and excreted by the body surface. So this is how the digestion takes place in the amoeba. Okay, then very important, how the digestion or nutrition takes place in the human beings. Very important topic, nutrition in human beings. The nutrition in human beings, that contain the alimentary canal and the digestive glands. So listen carefully. The digestive system of the human beings that contain the alimentary canal. So alimentary canal, so this canal, so this the mouth and esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, that is the alimentary canal, and some glands also there. So together forms the digestive system of the human beings. Okay. So let us study how the digestion of the food takes place in the human beings. Okay, so nutrition in human beings nothing but how the food material is get into simpler forms, okay, in the human body. So ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, the food we eat that is in a very complex structure. Okay, so that is having the very complex structure. So complex structure ಇದೆ that is not easily get absorbed by our blood. So ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಲಿ ಅದು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಫುಡ್ ತಿಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡತ್ತಾ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬ್ಲಡ್ಡಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಡತ್ತಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದೇನಾಗ್ಬೇಕು, ದಟ್ ಶುಡ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಅ ಸಿಂಪ್ಲರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್. ಅದೇನಾಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಗೆ ಏನಾಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಅ ಡೈಜೆಷನ್. ಡೈಜೆಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ, complex food material that will convert into simpler forms while moving in the digestive tract. Okay, so let us see how it occurs in the human beings. So in the mouth, when we eat the food, just imagine you are eating the food. So with the help of your teeth, the food material will become small particles, and that will get mixed with the saliva, right? So that will get mixed with the saliva. Saliva, what is saliva? What is saliva? Saliva is a water like substance that is secreted inside our mouth, ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ವಾಟರಿ ಫ್ಲೂಯಿಡ್ ಏನಾಗಿರತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೌತ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಸಲೈವಾ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೀಕ್ರೆಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ವಿಚ್ ಗ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್? Salivary glands. Saliva is secreted by salivary glands, and this saliva contain one enzyme, very important, that is called as a salivary amylase enzyme. Salivary amylase. Salivary amylase enzyme. Okay. So what is the function of this salivary amylase enzyme? Anybody just tell me what is the function of this salivary amylase enzyme? This helps to break down of the carbohydrate. The food what we eat that contain the carbohydrate. Carbohydrate that will get into a simpler form, that is into a sugars, right? Carbohydrate that is converted into a simpler form, that is converted into a simple sugars. That is the digestion in the mouth. Okay, so just recall it. Our mouth, so that contain the water like fluid that is contain, that is called as a saliva, which is secreted by the which glands? Salivary glands. And salivary amylase enzyme is there, so that enzyme helps to break down of the carbohydrate into simple sugars. Okay, then the food, the partially digested food, that moves into the stomach through the esophagus. So esophagus is a, that is a pipe like structure. With the help of the muscular movements of the esophagus, it reaches the stomach. Okay, so this is the stomach. In the stomach, further digestion of the food takes place. Okay, so in the stomach, walls of the stomach, they contain the glands. They are called as a gastric glands. Okay, the walls of the stomach that contain the glands, that is called as a gastric glands. These gastric glands, they secrete the three important, very important, note down this point, HCl and pepsin, mucus. Okay, so these are the three important chemicals secreted in the stomach by the gastric glands: HCl, pepsin and mucus. So this HCl, so that form the acidic medium for the action of the pepsin. Okay, acidic medium ಅನ್ನ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. HCl ಹೈಡ್ರೋಕ್ಲೋರಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಹೈಡ್ರೋಕ್ಲೋರಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಫುಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಆಸಿಡಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಆಸಿಡಿಕ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Okay, and this acidic medium is essential for the action of the pepsin. Pepsin ಏನಾಗಬೇಕು, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಫುಡ್ ಡೈಜೆಷನ್ ಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ದ medium should be acidic ಅಲ್ವಾ? So this pepsin that acts when the acidic medium is there. So this pepsin acts on the protein. So protein digestion takes place with the help of the pepsin. And what is the function of the mucus? This mucus that helps for the uh, that prevents the walls of the stomach with from the HCl. So HCl, that is a acid alva. So acid in the walls of the stomach, that is prevented by from the mucus. Okay, a mucus ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಆ stomach walls ಅನ್ನ protect ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ help ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So this is how digestion takes place in stomach, very important. Then the digestion in the small intestine, just see here, this is large intestine and this part is the small intestine, right? This small intestine that receives the some secretion from the liver and the this is the pancreas. Okay, so pancreas and liver, they secrete some juices into the small intestine. So liver ಮತ್ತೆ pancreas ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, so they secrete some juices that is received by the small intestine. Okay, small intestine ಅಲ್ಲಿ digestion ಯಾವ ತರ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ನೋಡೋಣವಾ? Small intestine, in the small intestine, first it receives the bile juice from the liver. Okay, bile juice from the liver and pancreatic juice from the pancreas. Pancreatic juice from the pancreas. Okay, so this bile juice that acts on the fat. Fat digestion ಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಫ್ಯಾಟ್ ಡೈಜೆಷನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? The large globules of the fats, large globules of the fats, they will break down into small globules. Okay, so ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, large globules of the fat that is converted into small globules with the help of the bile juice, which contain the some bile salts. Okay, then pancreatic juice ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ? So first function of the pancreatic juice, that will make the food alkaline. Okay, acidic food ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅಲ್ವಾ, because of the HCl. So HCl ಇಂದ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು alkaline ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. And this pancreatic juice contain the two important enzymes, that is lipase and trypsin. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಟ್ರಿಪ್ಸಿನ್, ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಿ. Lipase and trypsin alva. So this lipase that helps for the further digestion of the fat. Idu fat further digestion ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ, small globules of fat that should be get digested. So ಅದನ್ನ digest ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ help ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. And trypsin that acts on the digestion of the protein. Very important ಇದೆ. Trypsin that help for the digestion of the protein and lipase that help for the digestion of the fat. Okay, then last, the walls of the small intestine, the walls of the small intestine, they release the intestinal juice. Okay, intestinal juice. This intestinal juice that will convert the food material like nutrients, carbohydrates, I will write it in short, carbohydrate into glucose, very important, glucose, and proteins into amino acid, proteins into amino acid, and fats into fatty acid and glycerol. Fatty acid and glycerol alva. So very important, this is the last step in the digestion. So you know that in the small intestine complete digestion and absorption of the food takes place. Complete digestion agodu, very important, ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Complete digestion and absorption of the food material takes place in the small intestine. So small intestine ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ ಗ್ಲುಕೋಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಅಮೈನೋ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಂಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫ್ಯಾಟಿ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗ್ಲಿಸರಾಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ದೀಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್. ಅದು ಅಬ್ಸಾರ್ಬ್ ಆಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್, ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್, they are called as these finger like projections. So they help for the absorption of the food material, that is called as a villi. Very important, villi. Okay, so these finger like projection which are present in the walls of the small intestine, that helps for the absorption of the food, that is a villi. And next the food is transferred to the large intestine where the only water absorption takes place, then it is excreted through the anus. Okay, then it is excreted through the anus. So in this uh, topic you have to remember all the enzymes and how the digestion takes place in the stomach, small intestine and in the mouth. These all are the very important things. Okay, so I hope this topic is clear. If it is clear, we can move to the next topic, that is a respiration. Okay, so is that clear? Can I move to the next topic, that is respiration? Okay. So you know that respiration is the process where we take in the oxygen, and that is used to the breakdown of the complex molecules, and it releases the carbon dioxide, and that is expelled through the our nose. Okay, so this respiration, so there are two types of the respiration. First type is the aerobic respiration. Second type is the anaerobic respiration. What is this aerobic respiration? Anaerobic respiration. Okay. So aerobic respiration means, you know that what we take in the oxygen, that is used for the breakdown of the glucose. Alva? So glucose and breakdown ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ oxygen use ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So in case of the aerobic respiration, in the first step, glucose is converted into pyruvate, that is the 3-carbon molecule in the cytoplasm, and in the presence of the oxygen, pyruvate is converted into carbon dioxide, water and mainly energy in the mitochondria. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏರೋಬಿಕ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಗ್ಲುಕೋಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇಂಟು ಪೈರುವೇಟ್. What is pyruvate? That is contain the 3-carbon molecules. Glucose ಅಲ್ಲಿ 6 carbon molecules ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಹಾಗೆ pyruvate ಅಲ್ಲಿ 3 carbon molecules ಇದೆ. Okay, so this 3-carbon molecule pyruvate, that is in the presence of the oxygen ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, pyruvate is converted into a carbon dioxide, water and the energy in the mitochondria. Okay, pyruvate further divide ಆಗಿ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈಟೋಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ. ಯು ನೋ ದಟ್ ಮೈಟೋಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಪವರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಸೊ ಏರೋಬಿಕ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್. ಸೊ this is the aerobic respiration. Then what is anaerobic respiration? Anaerobic respiration means, so commonly it takes place in the yeast. Okay, so in the yeast what happens, first step is same, glucose is converted into pyruvate, that is the 3-carbon molecule, and pyruvate in the absence of the oxygen, it is converted into ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. Listen here, in the yeast anaerobic respiration will takes place, and anaerobic respiration will takes place with the without the oxygen, pyruvate is converted into ethanol. That is the alcohol, carbohydrate and energy, carbon dioxide and energy is released. So this process is called as a fermentation. So alcohol preparation ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ anaerobic respiration ಅನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, yeast ಅನ್ನ add ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. So that is nothing but a fermentation process. And in the muscle cells, sometimes in our body also there may be a chance of anaerobic respiration. So muscle cells ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ in the absence of oxygen, the pyruvate ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ, ಗ್ಲುಕೋಸ್ ಪೈರುವೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೇಮ್. ಆ ಪೈರುವೇಟ್ ಏನಾಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ದಟ್ ಮೇ ಕಾಸ್ ದ ಕ್ರಾಂಪ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಅವರ್ ಮಸಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. So these are the three different types of the respiration. Just observe this pathway. So in this pathway, you can understand the how the glucose is breakdown in the different methods. Okay. So here very important, what is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? In the aerobic respiration, there is more energy is released compared to the anaerobic respiration. Okay. So first step is, see here, glucose, that is a 6 carbon molecule that is converted into pyruvate and energy. Okay. So pyruvate, that is the 3 carbon molecules. And this is in the absence of the oxygen. In the yeast cell, ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy is formed. So in the presence of the oxygen, see here, it is converted into carbon dioxide, water and energy in the mitochondria. So sometimes in our muscle cells ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಪಾತ್ವೆಯನ್ನ ಬರೀಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದ್ಸಲ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ನಾನು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವ್ಯೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ರೈಟ್ ದ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ pathways of breakdown of the glucose. So ಈ pathway ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಬರಿಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. Very very important. Okay. And in 1 marks question, where the breakdown of the glucose will takes place, that is in the cytoplasm. Okay. So ಈ ತರ questions ಅನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Then difference between the aerobic and the anaerobic respiration. So aerobic ಮತ್ತೆ anaerobic respiration ಅಲ್ಲಿ difference ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. And one more important point is, what are the products produced in these respiratory pathways? So in the absence of the oxygen, in the presence of the oxygen, what are the product is produced? Okay. So in the muscle cell, lactic acid is produced. In the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide, water and energy is produced. And in the yeast cell, ethanol is produced, that is the alcohol. So this process is called as a fermentation. So these all are the important points. Okay. Then, so the last topic of this today's class, human respiratory system. So human respiratory system that includes the lungs, right? But how the air enters inside the lungs? So lungs ಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ entry ಆಗತ್ತೆ? What are the pathways of the entering of the air inside the lungs? Just observe this diagram. Air enters through the nasal passage. So nasal passage through entry ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Then it is moving in the pharynx, then into the larynx, then trachea, then into the lungs. Okay, so this is the pathway how it is entering into our lungs. Okay, so let us study about the human respiratory system. So first thing is the nasal passage. So you can observe outside our body, nasal passage. So that nasal passage that contain the hair like structures and mucus. Hairs irutte alva, hair like structures and mucus is present. What is the use of that? That help for the filtering of the air. ನಾವೇನ್ ಬ್ರೀತ್ ಇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏರ್ ಫಿಲ್ಟರ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಹೇರ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ that is a nasal passage. Then it enter into the pharynx and the larynx region. Okay, so just nasal passage, pharynx region and the larynx. Then this is the trachea. So this is nothing but a trachea which is covered by a cartilaginous rings alva. So this is the trachea, and this trachea that become into a two branches like this. So that is called as a bronchi. Okay, so this branch is called as a bronchi. Then again this bronchi that will get into a different branches like this, that is called as a bronchioles. Okay, so that is called as a bronchioles. At the end it contains the balloon like structures like this. So these are the balloon like structures, so they are called as alveoli. Okay, so just listen the just note down the pathway: nasal passage, pharynx, then larynx, then trachea, bronchi. So when the trachea become into a two branch, that is called as a bronchi. Then bronchioles, again it will become small branches, that is called as a bronchioles. At the end there is a balloon like structures like this. Bronchioles ends with the terminates with the balloon like structures like this. So these are nothing but the alveoli. Okay, so what is the function of the alveoli? What is the function of the alveoli? So see here, this diagram, is the bronchioles, okay, and it terminates at balloon-like structure, that is called as a alveoli. Idanna alveoli anta kariteve alva. So this alveoli that contain the extensive network of the blood vessels. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ blood vessels connect ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ when the oxygen enters into the alveoli oxygen entry ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ? ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೂವಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ವೆಸಲ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಬ್ಲಡ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಸಮ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ವೆಸಲ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ? ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? ಈ ಅಲ್ವಿಯೋಲಯಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? ಅಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈಗೆ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈ ಇಂದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ? ಅದು ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಗೆ ಡಿಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ಸಮ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಟು ದ ಅಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್. ಈ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇದೆ. ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇರುವಂತ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಅಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈಗೆ ಡಿಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂತು? ಅಲ್ವಿಯೋಲೈಗೆ ಬಂತು. ಅಗೇನ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೈರಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಅವರ್ nasal passage. So that is expiring from our body. Okay, so this is how stomata works in our body. Okay, so is that clear? And the mechanism of breathing, just see this video. When we breathe in, what happens? When we breathe out, just observe the chest region. Just keep your hands on your chest and observe this. Okay, so while breathe in, when we breathe in, what happens? We lift our ribs and flattens the diaphragm. So this is nothing but a diaphragm alva. So ee diaphragm ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? So ಆ diaphragm ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? Flat ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So ಈ ತರ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? Flat ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಬ್ರೀತ್ ಔಟ್ ಆದಾಗ, ಬ್ರೀತ್ ಇನ್ ಆದಾಗ ಯಾವ ತರ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇರಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ವಿ ಬ್ರೀತ್ ಇನ್ ನೋಡಿ, ಡಯಾಫ್ರಾಮ್ ಫ್ಲಾಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಬ್ರೀತ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಡಯಾಫ್ರಾಮ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೆಂಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೌ ದ ಬ್ರೀತಿಂಗ್ mechanism of breathing takes place in our body. Okay, then one more thing, how this carbon dioxide and oxygen is carried in the blood. So ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಲ್ವಾ? ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಡ್? ಎನಿಬಡಿ how it is carried in our body? Oxygen is carried by the RBC, which contain the pigment that is hemoglobin ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪಿಗ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ. hemoglobin and which is present in the RBC. Okay, red blood cells ಇಂದ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ. Okay, so what is plasma, what is RBC? So that I will explain in the transportation part. Okay, ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಸ್ ದರ್ ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಆರ್ ಎನಿ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್? ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಡೌಟ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? So in today's class, we studied about the mainly nutrition and the respiration. I hope you have noted down the important points and important question from this chapter. Okay. So any doubt? Another doubt idya? Okay. Then thank you, students. We'll meet in the next session. Okay.